or corrections? Hearing none, I'm going to ask the youth and governance first. How do you wish to vote?
Aye.
Okay. Committee, all those in favor, please say aye. There is no yay. So it passes. Now the new business. This is a carryover. This is an item that was deferred from the last government services, and it's the update on the youth and governance processes that we have. Lillian, you weren't here, but this is really great that both of you are here. Andrew, you were part of that discussion. Maria, do you want to come up by the mic and get us caught up on speed? And we'll continue the conversation on these changes we're proposing.
Does everyone still have a copy of everything? If not, I have extras just in case. But yeah, the very first thing was the application and screening process. So I know last time we had a conversation about whether or not we want to keep the application or like score the application as we typically do. So I have some notes here from last time about maybe just making it pass fail or adding a question to the interview section where youth can still like highlight something from their application. So they would, I know Andrew brought up the point of like the application kind of helped him prepare for the interview. So that's something to keep in mind. But those are the notes I have from last time.
Thank you, Maria. And it's good that we do maybe take these each up separately and to get you up to speed, Lillian, which I really think you guys are really crucial, being that you just went through this process. So maybe if you didn't understand it, let me just give you a little background. When you do your application is scored. It's 50% of your total score. And when you do your interview, that's the other 50%. We add those numbers together, and whoever bumps at the top from a certain school is the one who gets selected. So there may be youth that have really high scores, but let's say they all come from Case High School. We first have to pick one youth from Case, go to the next school, the next school, the next school with the highest score. And once all the unique schools are selected, and if we still have slots available, we go all the way back up to the top to the youth who has the highest score, if that makes sense. The issue that we're been having over the course of many years is the applications have to get scored by this committee. To get supervisors, it's a lot of time obligation to read through all the applications. And there's often times where it's almost to the minute that we're getting those scores in. And whoever scores the application are the only supervisor who should be also interviewing. And sometimes that's unique because I have to have replacement supervisors come in and then I'm asking the chair. It's a process. And what we're finding with the applications also is that the use of AI this last go round, which I'm not so much opposed to it, but it's a tool. That's how I see it. But we're seeing this process that maybe it doesn't feel as genuine as what we did in the past. So we have to move with the time. And the way I looked at it is by dropping the score portion of the application, that you just get scored on the interview. Either your application is a pass fail, basically. Do you meet the criteria in the application? Does it qualify you to get an interview? That's how we do at a job in the real world. Thank you so much. The employer looks to see if an application meets their standard for an interview. And I'm asking for that to be how we move forward from here on out. The benefit that we have as we're going through this, Monty, Supervisor Osterman, he was the start of this program 13, 14 years ago. So he just asked for a deferment on there to give him a little bit more time to process at least some of these changes. And these changes have come from the years now, the past couple years that we've been experiencing. So we've deferred it to allow us to have more input and thought on it. So I hope that catches you up to where we're at.
They have these sheets. You can pass it.
So yeah, that's just a copy of both the application, the screener, and the interview questions and screener.
So maybe I'm gonna lean to Supervisor Osterman and ask where he's at.
All right, well, as far as the forms themselves, I'm good with, what we have here. I think the main question here is, should should we continue to use the application as qualification criteria? Um, I've been back. I I I know what you're saying. I've been in that position many times. And that hasn't changed from its inception. The problem of getting supervisors to get on the stick and get their work done. If they're going to commit, to do it. It hasn't changed in 14 years. And so I feel that, and I've been really thinking about this, and I've been torn, but I've come down to the point where, in my opinion, from my experience, we are best to leave the application as part of the scoring process. And here's why. A big part of what we're doing here is helping to put the students in a position to learn um, how to work in government if they choose to, and take those skills that they're learning and apply them to a work life, starting a business, working in academia, whatever it is. And in every aspect of your life, your employment, your career, your ministry, whatever it is, there's preparation time. Man, if you do not prepare properly, you don't get scored on it, but life will score you on it, in a way. And I feel like that it's really important to force the applicants into doing their very best on the application, because that creates a habit. It creates um, it creates an ethos, really. So it's much more for the youth than it is for us, because we know, Matt, we have many times reversed a viewpoint on an applicant based upon the interview, you know, and so we know that we're always going to have the interview to fall back on, no matter what. Um, and there have been many times that I remember that we chose one youth over another, and maybe that youth had scored lower, but chose that youth over the higher scoring applicant because of location, diversity, um, their how they did on the interview, and they were just so stellar. Those scores were so high in the interview, and the scores were so much lower in the application. We just knew that on the floor, where it counts, where you're taught, where you have to pay attention, you have to create those opinions, and you have to ask those questions and do that research, that personal interaction, just like in the interview. That's what matters more. So my feeling is that we should re-weight the application and the interview process, like 70-30, 60-40, something like that. And I want to I want to keep the application as part of the scoring matrix, but lessen the effect of it, and put more emphasis on the interview, not in 100%, but more. So we can talk about changing those percentages. That's my opinion. There are many other valued opinions here. So
No, but very valuable. Thank you so much for. And I think ultimately what you're saying is a bit of the same, but there's just one part I want to expand on. And I think some of the supervisors who've gone through it, Supervisor Hoffman, who's here too, when we're reading the words of those who have filled out the application from the time I started to the time now, which has been a decade, the quality of what is being written has not changed. The scoring has changed because when we first did, the score was it was such a random number. I can't even remember. It was just like the applications were worth 83 points. It didn't total 100, and then the interview was worth, yeah, I don't know, 90 some 7 points. So it was such a random number for each, and so we did rebalance and reweight at the time. It's changed through the years where it became 50-50. Even with the quality, even with AI, even though you could see the pattern of AI responding, I can still say, even if, and there was a time when the youth didn't even know that their application was being scored. I think we started adding that language to it. So they are still going to put the quality in the application process. I don't see that changing, no matter if we change the weight to 30%, 50%, 100%. I think the effort still exists. How much they're going to be putting in the application process. When it comes to scoring, so here's the point. When it comes to scoring, I've had supervisors repeatedly ask me, and I just have to go through my philosophy. They have to find their own. Like, how do I score these? Because when we're reading the application, if you guys you're familiar with it, it's very subjective to how individuals look at these questions and how they answer. So then it becomes a supervisor. This person is in 3 clubs. The other person's only in 1 club. So do I then you have certain people scoring, oh, I'm only going to give them 5 points on this question because they're only in 1 club. And the one that's in 3, I'll give 15 points to. It becomes a bit, I think we start to scrutinize just the diversity of applicant. I think whether they fill it out, they pass a criteria, which Maria already does in her office. If they voided or have not filled out, the application becomes void, if that makes sense. So supervisors struggle, and how do you weight? So we do have scoring weight for each of these. I'm not sure if the rubrics is in here or not. However, there is a rubrics for each question. But still, how do you then justify some who have been, then is it who misses the period and who doesn't miss the period, who puts the comma, who capitalizes it? Um, and that's the difference between each of us supervisors. And it's not the quality of the applicant. We see that when they get before us and they do their interview. So I think we're putting undue stress on a process that I think has some flaws to begin anyway. It's different if we had a business and I'm the CEO and I want an assistant to work with me. I want certain qualities. I'm looking for grammar. I'm looking for whatever. But the full on rubrics besides the score isn't, we don't say, well, if this person's only in so many committees, or do they show this or that. Our supervisor makeup of our body is so uniquely different. I mean, us on this committee are so uniquely different. And I want to see that. And we don't get that until we see them before. So this is what you stressed is exactly what I want to stress too. So I think remove the burden of the weight of the application, make it go through Maria's eyes first, and whether it even comes to us then. I think the number of applicants really hasn't changed. Like what we're interviewing for the past handful of years has been consistently the same. So I don't think that's going to change because we change whether this gets scored or not. So that's my stake on the ground that I'm keeping there. So Supervisor Hoffman, please.
Yeah. As I said in the past, my first revolution of this was last year, and I think I called you a couple times. How do I grade? I mean, I struggled, and I found to be more important, more involving, and I understood it better and understood the applicants in the interview process. Not only did it make my decision easier, I needed to see, I needed to hear, and exactly what you said with, is this some AI generated going on? Because some of these were almost looking perfect. How do I grade this? I was always stuck on how am I supposed to grade this? It was so much easier when we got into the interview process. So I would be in favor with Supervisor Capillion's idea.
Thank you. Supervisor Hopkins?
What was your idea?
I want to remove the score process off the application. Right now, it's a 50-point weight, 50 points for the application and 50 points for the interview. Prior, I wish I had the random makeup.
It was very random.
It was extremely random, but it was pretty much weighted heavily as well. So even if somebody like Supervisor Osterman said, they really did really well in their interview. Sometimes, if they did really bad in the interview, sometimes they get through because the score was so high on the application. So the reverse also happens too. Mhm.
What are you proposing again?
I'm proposing to remove the scoring of the application. And so we pick the youth and governance reps by the interview. So when they come to interview before us, that's where they get their 100% of their score.
So you're saying just remove the application altogether.
Nope, application still exists. They still fill it out. We still are given the application ahead of time.
Mhm.
We still use it as an employer would. We read it, we prepare for when they come before us. If there's something on the application we want to say to the youth, we still do that very thing during the interview process. Right now, I would ask of you, Eric, in February, I would ask that you read every application that comes before this committee,
Mhm.
and you have to read through them all and you score each one. And you have to get that score back to Maria by a date so we can even set up the interview.
Mhm. That's how
So
it has been.
that's how it's been.
But you're saying that supervisor will still review it, but then they'll just take that information into the interview process.
You got it, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, because again, I mean, I was just thinking, what was the impetus for all of this anyway, which is the the ability for supervisors to get to application through a timely manner, blah, blah, blah. So that seems to be the impetus. And if we're just gonna have them review it and then bring that to the interview process, and then they still have in their minds how they felt the
Yeah.
application was, clarifying as far as in the interview, as far as what they see in the application.
Yeah.
They're still in a way factoring an application with the interview,
That's
but they're
exactly.
just, you're not giving anything um, quantitative in terms of the application itself. So um, that's typically how it is in other application so I don't necessarily take exception to that.
Thank you. I see Supervisor Osterman, Supervisor Hoffman now.
So, I missed the last 4 or 5 years. During that time, did you interview everybody that applied?
Yes,
Okay.
with a couple exceptions, but very few did we.
Because originally the application score was to pare down so many applicants
Yeah.
to a certain number to interview. That was the main reason for it. And now you're saying it changed. I don't know, has Kenosha made changes? Do you know? Have they made changes to what their process?
No, I think everything, I mean, for the most part, I believe everything is the same. They may have done a few tweaks to their scoring, but they still do have the application, the interview. The only difference is, like I've mentioned, the interview is just on an individual basis. So that does change the dynamics a little, but everything else is the same, I believe.
Okay. Well, gosh, like I said, I'm torn because I see both sides of this.
Mhm.
And so maybe we might get a little bit closer to a decision by hearing from our
The
youth.
youth, yeah.
This is on, how about this? This is on you guys.
Which is great. I do want to hear from you for sure. I'll go to Supervisor Hoffman and then to the youth. Supervisor Hoffman?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Kind of had the same question. I just wanted to, did we lose any anybody from the interview? You know, did we lose from how we graded to the interview? Or did everybody make it to the interview process?
No, everyone made it.
So that, okay, so we're not losing anybody by doing it, by
Mhm.
saving a step, per se.
No.
I just wanted to add that I felt there were applicants that if I was trying to judge off of what the application was, they came off better in the interview.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to stress the fact that life changed with some of these individuals as soon as they went through their interview. And I look back at my profession in the past years when I interview people for jobs, it's how the person approaches themselves in the interview. And so that's why I really support this.
Mhm. Thank you. Do both of you want to speak or who?
So,
Yeah.
so the point of confirmation is every single person that applied being interviewed, or how are you choosing who is being interviewed?
Every person who is nominated and then fills out the application that comes before us is interviewed unless there's a huge exception.
Yeah, so
Maybe,
unless like they don't fit that GPA requirement
yeah.
or they're for some reason not in the county. But even when we send out all of the interview invites to every single person that has applied, sometimes we don't get all of them to and like sign up for an interview, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
Some
it
people-
dwindles down in the process. Let's say we get nominated 100 and then those nominations get the application. Now we're down to 50 because how many of those who were nominated actually fill out the application? Then those who filled out the application then get invited after we score it, get an invite for an interview. Now we're down to 30. Not everyone's reading their emails. And so it really is from 100 to 30, right around there.
Yeah, I just had one question for each of you, and it's what's keeping you from considering 25% of the applications weighted and 75% of the interviews weighted?
Because I think for me, the process, the flaw in the equation is that we are not all using this metrics for each question. We are basing judgment on what, let's read the first. Why are you interested in participating in youth and governance? That's a very personal answer. Now it's up to us supervisors to put a score on that. Is this going to be perfect if they say what? Typically the people who've been nominated, they stand out for a reason by the person who has nominated them. Right. And so we're going to get, and then those who have filled out the application, it is very rare that we'll get something just because. Right. I mean, that's rare. And so somebody's expressing themselves. And there's another thing I want that I've noticed too. And certain schools, what we have found and why we select the youth that we select and how we select is that you'll see certain areas tend to gravitate to the higher scores, which is extremely sad. And the reason for that, maybe they're more articulate. They have access to more programs, to things that make them. What qualities do you possess that would benefit the youth and governance program? I serve on this, I do that. I mean, both of you are very distinguished in what you do, you're involved, but there are some who don't have access to these programs. So if you're reading the application and they say, I want to give it a try, I want to open the door to my future, I haven't done anything else, for example, may get scored extremely low on this, but how unfair that is. And so to me, it removes the judgment in a sense by reading this black and white piece of paper. And it also relieves the stress because to get the supervisors to find the time to read each one of these and then what is besides the number rubrics, what are we judging them on? We don't have an answer for that. So we don't have this mission statement in a sense or something that says this type of applicant gets a higher score. Those who are involved get a higher score, those who are less involved, but that tends to be who gets the higher score. Because usually the youth that come through here are the ones who are involved in everything. So that's what tells me those who are reading, the supervisors who are reading these applications, that's what's attracting them for, I don't know for what reason, it's not bad or good. So I want to remove that level of judgment and do in the real world, if they pass the criteria to fill out the application and to go on to the next step, let's do exactly what Supervisor Hoffman and Eric, you said as well, Supervisor Hopkins has said, where you take what they wrote on the application, keep that in mind because you're still using that when they come before. If I'm holding Maria's application and now I'm interviewing her, I can use that for my score process. So we still have the power of the score. Does that make sense?
Yeah, also something else is coming from an applicant's perspective. I know that many kids get a lot of nerves before they interview, and because of that, sometimes during the interview, I don't believe that really kids will show who they really are just because of, how nervous they are. And so I think completely removing the aspect of scoring from the application might deter you from some really good applicants who might be more on the quieter side and more nervous side.
I'll second that.
The reverse could be true as well, though. And I think we've seen that people who write very poorly interview extremely well. So, and yeah,
What's being said that if we made a criteria list, a scoring list, allowing you to score more? Because if you take it away, are any of the supervisors even gonna look at the application? If you're said, oh, you don't have to look at it, and you're saying how you guys are all stressed on it, and now you guys are just gonna put it to the side if it's just it doesn't matter. And
yeah, valid point. Valid point for sure. Supervisor, yeah. I'm
Just
sorry.
somebody said anything about, I think the supervisors are required to look at it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that has to be understood that they're looking at the application. And like I said, when it comes to interview process, they are still looking at the application, still weighing the application. So if the interview is not the strongest in the sense of presentation, they're still falling back and looking at that application and looking at the strength of the application and still weighing that application. Um, there seems to be some subjectiveness in terms of, like you said, trying to, assess some numerical value. Uh, as far as its subjective aspect of it. And then we're looking at the impetus for all of this, which is issues around supervisors getting this done. That was the impetus for all of this. So if we can understand that supervisors are really looking at this application and they're bringing the application to the interview and they're looking at this application and they're weighing it along with what's being stated, what's being um, presented, then they're weighing both. It would seem to me, but I guess we do need to at least listen and kind of hear their perspective.
for sure. I just thought of something. There is a rubrics, and I'm not sure if you're sitting before it, but it says application screening form. And I just want to read exactly what they are so you get an idea. So, why are you interested in participating in the youth and governance? It's weighted at 8 points. And to get 0 points, there's no answer that was provided. 2 points, answer shows limited interest or understanding. You get 5 points if answer shows moderate interest and understanding. Answer shows strong interest and clear understanding. And then if you were to jump down to what qualities do you possess that would benefit the youth and governance program? 0 for no qualities identified. 2, few relevant qualities identified. I want you to think about that too. Supervisors then judge what exactly is a relevant quality. I suppose we have our constituents who decide for us, and that's what we get elected for, but some relevant qualities identified and many relevant qualities identified. The one thing as Supervisor Hopkins was talking, I thought about there is this time between each interview set that we do allow for scoring. that would be a great opportunity to, hey, this is the next set of applicants. Here are their applications, just to refresh you on them. You often give the names out, so we have the names ahead of time. But it would allow us, if we had maybe put in there, because we did, Supervisor Hoffman, we did 2 days of interviews this go round. So 2 days of interviews where we left at a reasonable time this year. So, right? So there is wiggle room for each before they come in to cover up if those supervisors have not prepared ahead of time, where they can also read the application before the youth or before them to interview them. So just because we were doing it, Supervisor Osterman, there has been many years that we were doing it all on the same night. And we went virtual after COVID. And so we thought because we were virtual, we had a lot more speed. We always, no matter every year, we've always gone over. This year we did really good though. This year we did a lot better than what we have in the past. We've been a half hour behind sometimes. It depends what supervisors we have interviewing. So, yeah. Supervisor Osterman.
Thank you. So, let's say theoretically, nothing changed yet. And all the supervisors that were to do their scoring did their application scoring well in advance, on time. It was all turned in smooth. Everything worked. No last minute stuff. If that were to occur, would this still be a problem?
Yes. You want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
For all the years I've had this now, what has it been? 6 years plus? Something like that? I cannot give you an exception to the year where I don't at least have two. And Supervisor Hoffman, I'm sorry to point you out, but it's a legitimate question. I have no idea how to score these. How do I, and even with this rubrics, it's very difficult to place judgment on a very personal question.
So,
And so I have a rule that I'm like, everybody's perfect. I vary only during the interview process because I don't want to judge somebody on their uniqueness. So yes.
so maybe a little bit of it is supervisor training. Hmm?
What would they be trained on?
I've actually,
Yeah.
How many of the supervisors have actually gone back and read the manual from the beginning, the intent resolution, all of that stuff, that tells them what this program is supposed to be and how they're supposed to interact with it?
Would it
That would be where I
change?
would start. Would it change? That's my question. Would it be?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing stuff out.
No,
I'm
no,
not saying
no,
one way or the other, but
Thanks for allowing our thought process. So yeah, yeah.
that might be part of it. And how do you, if you eliminate the application scoring, and how do you ensure that all the supervisors are reading all the applications fully and responding to them, and using that to inform them during the interview? I'm getting some real
Yeah.
anxious head nods over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do you do that?
And I think that's exactly what Supervisor Hopkins was talking about. And that's why I said before each interview slot, I think we have a window that we have already. We use it to score, but we could give more time to we have about four, I don't know how many you had in your group. Sometimes it was 3 to 5 youth that are before us. So you could give each supervisor their application during that time and say, we have Andrew and we have Lillian and another youth. Here are their applications. Get yourself refreshed on them. So that would catch whether the supervisor spent the time ahead of time or not. Are they refreshing or are they reading it for the first time? Either way, they have them before and they align with the questions we ask anyway during the interview. So I think that would be the answer.
So I am curious then how the youth feel about the fact that, well, not the fact, the question whether or not removing the application scoring reduces the competitiveness of this process. Does it or does it not? And how do you feel about that either way?
Yeah, it 100% doesn't though, because we accept everyone anyway. That's, I mean, it wouldn't change at all. It would be the same. This is like your behind the scenes. You guys get to see for the first time what happened
All the
before you
sausage
guys
is
get.
made.
Yeah.
So what do you do then when
Yeah.
when all of a sudden one year, we do a great job recruiting, we've got 250 applicants
Yeah. And
and 200 of them return
yeah.
the applications, I mean,
Wouldn't we
yeah.
love that problem, Maria? But we don't have it. But I will tell you, every single year it has been asked since I've been on is how many do we want to interview everyone? Because the number is given before us. So we always are given as a committee, does everyone get interviewed? And it is still quite competitive, quite honestly, because the score only allows 10 people to get through, 12 with alternates. But
I'd still
yeah.
like their answer on that
Yeah.
question. The competitiveness.
I don't believe like it would eliminate the competitiveness, but I like thing to point out, like as youth supervisors, isn't it like, I don't want to call anyone out, but like, isn't it kind of your job to know the morals and what you want to see in the youth, how and
Mhm.
like what you want to work with and their qualities? Like, isn't that like part of your job?
It's so hard to judge youth, though. I mean, who's to say? I'm looking at both you now, and I know you're stellar, but who's to say the other 25, 20, whatever applicants else that we have by just looking at them and just from a couple things they wrote to judge whether they're a fantastic applicant. I mean, I am so uniquely different than Supervisor Osterman, Supervisor Hopkins, Supervisor Hoffman, but yet I make a good supervisor and so do they. So it's kind of like this is the job. It's not like I'm asking you to be our finance director. This job really requires your unique makeup of character and that you show up. So that's, what's your commitment level? And then just that you carry some uniqueness to you, if that makes sense. So
Uh,
it's a different type. Supervisor Hopkins.
So what is the confirmation process in terms of ensuring that these elected supervisors have reviewed? Is there a process prior to the interview day where they confirm, should there be, or has there been, where they confirm that they actually did review the applications?
Yes. Maria and I are tirelessly getting on the supervisors. So we know they've read them when we get the scores. So if we haven't gotten the scores, we know that they haven't gone through it.
Okay, so if they're not scoring them, how do you still confirm that they reviewed it?
Only through just their, whether they said they have or not. Because
And-
I've had that. I've read through them. I don't know how to score them. I've had that said to me so many times. So,
So simply stated,
yeah.
one, I think it'd be reasonable to say there has to be maybe a way to confirm that reply that you have. I don't know what mechanism to say. If it's not scoring, a score being submitted, that they still confirmed that they reviewed the application? Or are you just saying if they at least do it on that particular day, that should suffice? So, but again, is there any way to confirm outside that score being submitted that
Yeah.
they did review the application?
Yeah. You know what? You just brought up a valid point, which actually makes my stake in the ground even deeper in the ground. And this is why Supervisor Hopkins, and I'm going to, without calling out a supervisor by name, but just this last one, I never received their score, but they showed up for the interview. We can't do that. We need to have the same person who scored be the same one who interviewed. And actually, we had two supervisors, I believe, that did that. And it's like, I've already said, if you're not going to score, you can't, because we need to be consistent with each of these youth. And so that has also created an issue that those who all of a sudden have not submitted their score, it throws off the collection of numbers that Maria has to do. And so what I did in the background to try to make that whole is I've had other supervisors then do the score. And so, but then you're passing two people's different judgment. Like, how did they score? And now how did the second supervisor interview score. Does that make sense? So I'm using one scoring matrix in my head when I'm doing it. And then when I interview, I'm the same person. But now we're having two supervisors complete one set of score.
So I understand that the scoring submitting is a way to confirm that they reviewed the application, and then those same uh, supervisors are part of the interview process.
Yep.
But again, is there some way to confirm that they've done the application outside of that scoring? And
Yeah.
if they don't, then they don't participate in the interview process. Then my question is, what is the minimum? What is the guideline in terms of how many supervisors are part of the interview process? If we decide that we can't confirm that they reviewed the application outside of scoring, then maybe they're not part of the interview process. Then again, I don't know if there's a certain number, a certain threshold.
You make a fine point that I haven't touched on yet either. One of the way to guarantee is if we give the applications before each round of interviews. So there's your guarantee. We can guarantee you have read them if we've handed to you the day of the interview, right before the youth walk into that room. You now are forced to sit there and read their application. The second part, Supervisor Hopkins, because for 2 days, we try to consistently have the same supervisors be the ones who are there. So if you're telling me that you can't make it day one, I'm just going to ask you to step out of the whole interviewing process, because if you're only judging the first set of youth on day one and then not the second, they don't get your same scoring measures. And so that's another criteria. We ask only the supervisors who can do both days be the ones that show up for the interview process. Does that make sense?
Um,
Because you're using your same scoring mechanism.
so what is the time frame between them being handed the application on that first day and the first group of students uh, presented themselves? Uh, because you seen it imply that we shouldn't, or there maybe isn't a way to confirm that they've looked at the application other
We,
than scoring prior to the day of the meeting. So then my question is, they show up to get application, what is the time frame between they get it in front of them, if they haven't seen it, and then students being interviewed?
End of December, so let's say December 31st is all applications have been in at the end of December.
Yeah,
Right?
so
And
our
then-
deadline is always around December 18th is
Yeah.
gonna be this year.
So December is when
Well,
we get,
so no, so applications are due January 15th. And then interviews last year were around February 17th, 18th.
yeah, so it's about a month. Maria gets us the applications. When they come in, Maria gives us the all of us on this committee receive the applications in right away. So we have a month to review them.
A month?
Yes.
Okay. Um, how hard is to say, once you have reviewed the application, send a confirmation email, and they have to send some type of confirmation email that they reviewed the application before they are allowed to move on to being a part of the interview process? Or is it too hard to ask for them to confirm that they reviewed the application?
Actually, it would be a lot easier with exactly what you're asking rather than saying after you read them, score them. It's the scoring that takes forever for us to get that confirmation. And Supervisor Hoffman's shaking his head, yes. Reading them is the easier part. Scoring them is what we end up not getting.
So then, again, confirm, you know, I've reviewed applications, all applications. All right, thank you. You've confirmed that via email. You move on to the actual interview process.
I like it.
That's, yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Go.
you're giving me an idea here, or what, they receive these, applications electronically, right?
Correct.
So possibly we could work with the IT department to come up with a way that, they have to actually open that application, right? And then the IT department will issue a report that, these were all open, at least open. We don't know if they've read them. We don't know. We won't know that, but at least they were open. They're not going to open them if they're not going to read it.
Even
So-
initialized.
Yeah, so some way to do that, right?
Does
Yeah, I
Racine
like where
County
you're going
have
with
box?
this.
Box. I believe UW Medicine has box, but there's a way I believe on there. So if I sent them out to everyone, I think I should be able to get a receipt notice, or just get a notification that someone downloaded
Yeah.
the file. Yeah.
Right,
And-
some way to, it's similar to what we all have to take the cyber training, similar to, that. If there was some way to just know that they've opened it, or, maybe they can't download it, maybe they have to open it first, then download it. And that way, they've at least had it open, and they can say they've read it.
So
Then we
behind,
know.
yeah, I love that. So behind the scenes, just so I know this is being recorded, John from IT is here. Can we put you on the spot? Even though this goes through UW Extension, so there's something that we have to think of. So this all goes through UW Extension, but we're asking for a red receipt or something for supervisors. We get all applications, and just to confirm that they've been opened and read, or they have to sign off on them. Is there a capability at the county? Kind of Supervisor Osterman gave the example of when we do our cyber training. But these files come in, do they come to us as PDFs or docs?
So I do two things. I upload them all to Google Drive and send you the folder, but then I also include them all as attachments to the email itself.
Okay, so Google Drive and attachments. So either way, is there some way that we can confirm receipt of those or read receipts? No.
They're two different
Okay.
organizations. They won't talk to each other.
Okay. All right, so maybe through UW Extension, and I
Because I
think Google
do-
Docs, don't they show who's opened them?
I don't
No?
think so. No.
Or you can sign off, Supervisor Hopkins, I think in Google Docs, how you can have editors on there, and even if you put your initial, I mean, I'm used to working with Google Doc,
Mhm.
then we can always, I don't know, anything that I'm gonna say right now, I'm hesitant. I'm always so hopeful, but then the year comes and then I'm like calling everybody almost every day. I'm such a nuisance. I'm call, I text, I send emails, I see them, I'm addressing them at the meetings. It's nonstop for years. So
Would it be too much to ask of them, even though we're not scoring or they're not scoring them? I mean, each time there's a section on like comments, sometimes people make a few comments about each application. Would
Yeah.
that still be too much for each like application to get even a short comment?
I'm thinking what Supervisor Hopkins is suggesting probably I feel fits well. I know right now because we're trying to feel what feels the most just, or the process, but I'm trying to give you the reality of what it's been for years, right? So I'm trying to give you like what I've been experiencing for years, and it does not devalue what's being written, none of that. It doesn't devalue the youth partaking in the application process and writing what they write. It is, I think first of all, the scoring metric is number one, and the second of all is to get those total scores is like pulling teeth. And so I think Supervisor Hopkins and Supervisor Osterman are onto something where there's like a red receipt.
Some type of review confirmation. I don't know what the mechanism would be. But there's gotta be a way that can just, hey, I confirmed I reviewed the application. I mean, it's gotta be some type of confirmation.
Yeah,
If it's not a score.
There's got to be a way to do it.
yeah.
Yeah, there has to be.
So I think when you use doc, there is, I mean, I can tell if somebody edits a doc that I have.
Mhm.
So even if I put like a note,
On each individual application? You
no,
mean? Or just one.
no, if you send, because you do send us a Google Doc,
Yes. Mhm.
but you know what? That's when I've created a Google Doc, not when I've downloaded a PDF or
Yeah, because I think in the past I've only sent PDFs.
Yeah, but now we have how many I can't recall, and you'll know this number. We have an online, something that's changed. We have an online application too now that the kids can fill out rather than they all had to fill it out and get it printed.
Mhm.
So what was the percentage of those who filled it out online compared to those who did
I think
hard
it was
copy?
the majority. Maybe we had like a 5 at most that were paper.
So it's
Mhm.
easier with those online because it's already through an electronic system.
Yes, it's on Qualtrics.
Okay. There's gotta be. Right, I think they're onto something. There's gotta be, just like Super Osterman said. Yeah, Supervisor Hopkins.
Okay, so, well, Andrew and or Lillian, as far as us being able to establish a confirmation process, does that mitigate or address the concern you brought up as far as application factoring in? Does that mitigate that in some way or not?
How about both of you just weigh in? So you think Governor Schuler, your thoughts?
I believe like what I talked about on how like confirming that people actually read over it. I still believe that even if we change the weight, that the application should have some weight.
Mhm.
I mean, have you considered maybe taking some questions off the application? Because I mean, I remember there's a lot of questions on here, and maybe instead of just using them in the application, using them in the interview, and therefore just like changing the weights of them.
Yeah, can we look at the interview and tell me how you see that? We have, or the application, right? I'm sorry. Taking what was suggested is some of the questions being taken off the application.
Yes.
Like, how do you see that?
I see something like, please note any leadership positions that you've held. Like I recall in the interview, you asked us like what positions we held that would qualify us for this position. And I mean, I think questions like that as well. And maybe the qualities that you possess. I know that was also restated in the interview. And I do have another question.
Sure.
I mean, do you review the applications before the interview of each, applicant? Because I know that it's with every kid at the table, it might be hard to, retain all their information.
We are suggesting that be part of the process if this changes. Normally, it's up to individual supervisors how prepared they want to come into it if they've read them. A couple of us have them printed, some don't. It's just however the supervisor shows up. What's being proposed is that we do read them before the youth sit down.
Yeah, but also I do like the idea of having like a confirmation of who read the applications, but I think adding maybe a written part on there for you guys to maybe write a short summary of what you see in the applicant, what might make them a good applicant. I mean, it could be really short just to confirm that they actually read it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking that's great. Maybe I think Supervisor Osterman was maybe touching on a little bit of this, when you talked about, have any of us read the initial what started, this and is that, a lot of this is about experience. As much as you truly, as you think, you're giving us a voice that we can't give. So there's a power for you being here on the county board, but we're also helping you as well. And but I don't think that's a bad idea to have some type of comment of, how maybe we felt about the application. And even whether you get through or not, you have maybe some compilation of comments of, the application itself.
Um, we may be able to reach a little bit of a compromise here on, you know, weighting that application and still not having to do full scoring. We talked about um, giving youth an opportunity to expand on one part of their application during the interview. What if it were more of a directive that, okay, applicants, you will be during the interview, you will be asked to elaborate on 2 areas of your application during the interview. That gives a little bit more weight to the application, I think. And it also continues to force the supervisors to Supervisor Hopkins' point, force them to really dig into that application, you know? So instead of, throw them a bone, well, tell us one thing about you. No, you're going to be expected to elaborate on 2 points, but you don't tell them up front what that is. So then the applicants would want to, in my thought, they'd want to do a great application throughout, knowing that there's going to be 2 of those that are going to be singled out that they're going to have to expand upon. I don't know what do you guys think about what are you think about that idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would give the application the weight that it lost if the credit was removed. And I mean, I believe that would also, I mean, would the youth know that the application wasn't weighted or?
Yeah, I think that the intention with that, with elaborating on 2 parts, that would be you would know that in the information up front before filling out that application. That remember, while you're doing your app, there's going to be 2 of them that you're going to be specifically interviewed upon and asked to elaborate on.
I mean, honestly, I think that's a much better idea than just completely removing the credit from the application. And I mean, I would second that.
Andrew?
Yeah, like the application has a big matter. Like the interview process would have to be changed. We'd have to add more questions, or even like letting us know like what the questions are gonna look like. Because I know before my interview, I was looking up online like what questions am I gonna be asked, and like trying to prepare myself, and then going into the interview and these questions not being anything like what I practice. And so then I'm there, and then my thoughts are running, and I'm trying to think of what to say, and it's kind of hard because you're gonna have people that are really good at speaking in front of others. That it's gonna come to them like that, where you're gonna have quiet people who they're gonna get scared, and then they're not gonna be able to show their true self. But the application helps them do that. So if there's a way that we can help them prepare more for the interview,
Mhm.
I would not be opposed of getting rid of the application.
Yeah.
I'd say welcome to the real world. Though I
Well,
wish through the interview process we would have all the questions before getting interviewed for jobs. But yeah,
well, I mean, again, that I think we just mentioned, colleague just mentioned, that is a compromise because you will know
yeah,
that you have the ability to speak to your application and you know ahead of time so you can already prepare that, man, maybe if these other questions don't go well, I can really nail my application because I know it and I can speak to it, et cetera, et cetera. So the application is factoring in and it's going to help anyone perform better at the interview, you know. So um, I like that particular idea.
Supervisor, are you suggesting that you think that would help them better prepare for the interview, knowing? I mean, that's what
Absolutely.
I'm,
Yes.
yeah.
Because they know guaranteed I can present my best, put my best foot forward. I know I can do that in these areas because you did application, you know yourself. So that can help kind of offset, um, the interview process being uh, cited towards people who are better adept at, off the cuff. It kind of evens the playing field.
yeah. And to meet your points is at least you'll know 2 of the questions, right? And so if we look at the interview questions, Supervisor Osterman, number 4, it is what would you like to tell us about yourself that would make you stand out from the other applicants? Maybe there is where we can curate that sentence different, or maybe that this is the opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself in.
That would not necessarily be my intention. What I'm suggesting is that an individual Supervisor Hopkins is sitting here, he's listening to an interview, man, he's going to say, okay, I'm interested in them expanding upon, you know, number 3.
Mhm.
And Supervisor Hoffman may say, well, I'm interested in them expanding on number 1, you know, so they don't know which, where it's going to come up, and it's not in the same place. That could stay the same, In other words, that, yeah, tell us more about what would make you stand out. And now somebody may, say, okay, something else, or, from your application, or we may say, expand on number 4, how do you benefit from serving on the committee? Or number 7, or do you really have the time? Because you're on the football team, you run track, and you've got 4 other, you're in 4-H and all this other stuff. Do you really have time? So it could be any number of things that the youth would be asked to expand upon, but they would know in the information, the introductory information, that when they fill that application out, they're going to have to expand upon probably 2 areas. And they don't know what it would be until the interview day.
Oh, okay.
So I see something a little bit, we want to be consistent with every group that comes before us, though. So make sure we're always judging each group on the same thing. So the same set, that's why we ask the same questions to each group. They give unique answers. So what I was hearing you before is that we're asking them to expand upon 2 of the areas on their application, that whatever ones they wish. That's how I heard it.
That's how I heard it too,
Yeah.
with the understanding that the assumption is supervisors are doing that anyway. They're asking to expand upon whatever. They're just a part of the process. So if it's understood that they are going to be looking at application, and they are going to be asking for students to, expand upon whatever. But in addition to that, giving the students the opportunity
Their choice.
to their choice to have 2. Okay, now what are the 2 areas you would like to expand upon? And then they already know ahead of time what that is. They speak to it. Wow, that's their strength. That helps offset some of that, in terms of, who may be perform better off the cuff or not. They know they can choose. Nevertheless, throughout the application process, my assumption is supervisors are looking at the questions anyways. Hey, can you expand upon, that should be just a natural part of the application.
Okay,
The interview process, but again, understood prior to them doing the application, they're gonna have an opportunity of their choice to pick out 2 that they can expand upon, can speak to, can feel comfortable about. Again, to offset that, the possibility of one, off the cuff being able to do better than the next person. So
Yep, very good. That's how I understood Supervisor Osterman too.
Yeah.
Did you want to speak, or I'm gonna
no, that's,
bounce
no,
it
that's,
to the youth?
I'm good with it. Just to kind of put that to bed in the preliminary information. They know that in their application, they're going to have the opportunity to choose
Yes.
2 spots that they can expand upon.
Yep.
And they're told that up front.
so um and I'm glad you brought that up, Lillian, because it seemed that Andrew was a bit hesitant with strictly notion of a confirmation. Again, how can you make sure the application is being integrated to the process short of a score being submitted? And so I think that question and what you brought up did spur on this current arrangement as far as, uh, you have an option for 2 of your own. And then again, supervisors are still looking at and asking to expand upon. So thank you for bringing that up. Uh, but I still, so then with that being stated, is there still a way we can confirm that eyes has been set on this application? It could be as far as uh, supervisor providing some type of quick summary, nothing in depth. I looked and I saw these as strengths. They submitted. Something again to confirm that they've laid eyes on it. And then you have additionally the 2 options students can present uh, to kind of reinforce the application being considered. Are we saying that the option for students to present their 2 questions of their own, 2 strengths of their own, and the supervisor obviously going to be expanding, is that sufficient to not include some type of confirmation process? Or do we want to include that confirmation process as well? So, yeah.
So
Maria?
if we wanted to, what I'm thinking, so usually I send out like the one Google Doc scoring sheet, right?
Are you able to get closer to the mic? Just,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I always send out the one Google Doc scoring sheet. So I'm thinking instead of having each person go through each name and add a score, they just simply check mark it. So there's a way to do that digitally, or even if it's just a paper form and you take a picture of it and send it to me, and that would be sufficient, I believe.
I'm not really worried about the methodology. I'm with Supervisor Hopkins. Let's have a way to confirm that they've been downloaded, opened, looked at, or one, two, or three, all of the above, whatever.
Yep.
Some manual checkoff list? Certainly, absolutely. I could see, I would agree to that.
How are you feeling, Supervisor Hoffman?
I think we put a lot of meat into this.
Yeah.
Again, I can't explain enough the last process of, I'm gonna use Andrew as an example. I saw his application. I had to grade him with everybody else. And yes, he stuck out.
Yeah.
We get to the interview process. He's exactly what I thought he was.
Mhm.
Lillian caught me off guard. She interviewed so well. She was interested and didn't have a huge background of, I'm in this club, this club, this club, and being real busy. She jumped out at me as a good applicant through her interview. So
Mhm.
as far as I can agree with you, if you want to go through this process and kind of, it feels like a babysitting step that we're doing with the other supervisors.
Yeah.
In my professional career, I have seen very reputable people in interviews see the applicant that night and not have gone through it in research and go through it. So I've seen interviewing going on where people are looking at the applicant and they're looking at their resume right in front of them, and that's how they judge it. We're kind of all over the board with, we're trying to put more meat into it, and I'm fine with that if that's what's going to pass it tonight.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that. But some people might interview, here you are, I've got your application, your resume, and I'm talking to your face and I'm listening to you interview. I don't want to take that away from somebody that wants to study it for, you know, each of you for a half hour to an hour. I can't judge that, but I understand it because I've seen it and I've witnessed it. So if that's what makes the committee happy, I will go along with exactly what makes you feel comfortable. And we want to send it out and everybody's going to have to accept the fact that they read it and agree with it. I think it's a little too much. I liked where we were before, but I will go with where I mean, does everybody understand where I'm coming from? You know, even the simple fact of letting them know what the questions are. My last job, I would have loved to know the three questions, but I didn't have the three questions. I had to professionally sit there in my interview and explain what those three answers were going to be. So I understand where the committee's at. My experience has been all over the board. So whatever makes this work tonight, you got my support, if that helps you at all.
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Hoffman. I agree. We have a unique board currently right now, or this committee right now, just so you youth know, is that Supervisor Hoffman has gone through the interview process now. It was his first time last year. Everything's fresh. Supervisor Hopkins has not gone through it yet. And Supervisor Osterman went through it 6 years ago. Right. And so we're missing some of the other committee members who have gone through it back to back to back to back. And so I love it. It makes this discussion so much more well-rounded. And so I just so appreciate the time and thought that's gone here. I still stand firm on what my proposal is, but I think it is a really good compromise, quite honestly. I really do. And Supervisor Osterman.
Yeah, I would make a motion. Are you ready over there? To, number one, require the interviewing supervisors to fully read the youth applications. Number two, to remove the weighted score from the application screening. And number 3, require the youth who are being interviewed to elaborate on 2 separate points from their application during the interview.
It's been motioned. Do we
All
have
right.
a second?
Oh, well, when, as far as around require,
Second. Okay, go ahead. Now discussion on the motion.
second, um, the mechanism, did you want to put language in there as far as the mechanism for that requirement or not?
Can you give me an example? What, how,
Check off, she mentioned?
okay.
You mean the requirement of the supervisors to read?
Yes.
I'm good with that, but I think that honestly, I think procedurally that would be a separate motion. The requirement for the confirmation.
Okay,
That's administratively.
so
Rather than-
if we agree to this and say required, does that necessarily require another motion? Or can we just leave that up to her?
You mean the confirmation?
The confirmation process, yes.
I think we can say with the understanding, because ultimately it's run out of UW Extension. If Maria takes that and when she presents it, when it comes, she will say that these all must be confirmed. So exactly what you're getting at, Maria can announce that in our process of review. So
So-
that could be, I mean, she's doing the notes right now, and that can just be part of our process that she will lay out before us. So I hear what you're saying, but it's kind of like how she gives us directive every year anyway.
To clarify, if I may, procedurally, motions are related to policy. And the administrative portion is, it becomes administrative rule. It's not motioned at all, normally, generally. So to require that confirmation, we can say that, we don't have to make that part of the policy motion.
Okay.
More discussion on the motion, youth? Do you have discussion on the motion? You good? You're good.
Reread it?
Supervisor Hopkins?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're good. You're good? Oh, you're ready.
Just
Okay.
The motion, can we reread it?
Yeah.
Just to make sure it's.
You ready? Do you want to reread the motion for us, please? That's okay. We'll help out.
Require.
Motion, I'm just going to repeat for the audio, okay? Motion to require. For the interviewing supervisors to
Fully read.
read all the applications. To remove the weighted score from the screening process.
I'm sorry, that was number 2, not an adverb. Number 2.
And number 3 was to require the interviewed youth to elaborate on 2 of the application points during the interview. Okay, there we go, the motion. Do you have any discussion on that motion, Maria? I'll open it to you, even though it's been
Just
closed
had
just for us
a
to consider.
Clarifying question.
Okay.
So one, are we keeping the interview rating form as it is?
We are keeping the interview form application, the interview,
The rating. So like.
the rating,
Mhm.
meaning that it's 50 points.
Yeah, and just everything it consists of, each section.
Yeah,
How about we make we'll go ahead and vote on this and we can open that up.
Okay.
Because I mean, that's just whether it's 50 or 180, whatever it may be. So being that there's a motion and a proper second, no other further discussion on the motion, I'm going to ask the youth and governance, how do you wish to vote?
Aye.
2 ayes. All right. All those in favor on the committee, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
And motion passes. There are no
goes
no's.
away then.
Yep. Yep.
So the application screening form will.
No, the interview.
But
She's talking about the interview
What
scoring.
I'm saying is the application screening form will go away, right? Yeah.
That's right. So now what, Maria is asking us, during the interview, there's a rating form. It's totaled at 50 points. She's just asking, shall that change? I think we're ultimately scoring on the same things, except now there are, if we wanted to score on those, the new added, asks on the application. So that's 2 other weighted items, I suppose, or 1 that have 2 components of it. So do we want to change the interview rating form as 100 now?
My opinion is that it would fall squarely under number 4, as you pointed out
Yeah,
before, and we wouldn't
exactly.
really need to change that.
That's kind of where I see it too, but do you see under number 4? Do you have the application, the interview questions?
So when we ask them for their 2 expanded points.
Did you guys find
It
it?
seems.
I think they
4
have
falls
it.
under 4.
Yeah,
Looks like it falls under 4. So
okay. So should we just keep it at 50? Do you guys like it better at 100? You know, I mean, it's just a number, but it's. Before it used to be at some random number. It really did. So
It-
it just.
The only reason would be is there, if there's ever any reason to compare from here forward, compare those scores to the previous year's
Fair.
scores.
That's fair. No, that's good.
You know,
If you-
for reporting purposes, for, you know, for comparative growth purposes,
Yeah,
maybe we should
yep.
bump it to 100 there.
Great point. Great point. It doesn't change any of this. It's just the number. And do you understand his point? Right now, everybody is at 100, you know, or 90 or 80 or whatever. So how do we show the difference between, so to be consistent from year to year? I don't know. That's really just procedurally, I don't think we need to have a motion to change your score sheet number. But just so we all have that clear understanding. Good question. Is there any other clarifying things so we don't leave you hanging?
Yeah, for the interview question, so that additional part of asking them to elaborate on the application, is that an additional question or?
That is under number 4. Yeah.
That's where I have it. So we're basically replacing the question as it is. And
May I?
Yep.
I would suggest that you leave the question as such, but just add language, you know, that would reference, you know, giving us two spots to elaborate, 2 areas from your
Application.
from your application to elaborate on. Gosh, it's starting. Yeah, we'll see. We've been in this an hour and a half now.
You're doing good. Anybody with any other discussion? Maria, what else do we have? Is that what you have for us?
let me look back at my notes. I had a few other things that, I mean, we could wait also, but the other thing we had discussed was adding to the handbook a section about the chairs of the committees being mentors.
Yep.
Automatically.
I don't think there was anyone who was in disagreement of that. I don't recall at the committee. Do you remember? And do we need a motion for that to be able to be added to that or no? We do? So I think, so, okay, what was being asked is that the chairs of each committee be also added as mentors. So that was the ask. It tends to be, just so you know, even if you're not a mentor, if you are a chair, it tends to be the youth from the committee sometimes lean to you anyway. So just put that in some formal writing
So,
somewhere.
Madam Chair, being
Yep.
policy, we should motion that. I would make a motion that we add the county board standing committee chairs as youth and governance mentors.
second,
It's been properly motioned and seconded. Is there any further discussion? No, okay. Youth and governance, how do you wish to vote?
Uh,
2 ayes, thank you. All those in favor on the committee, please say aye.
Aye.
And no noes, that passes. Thank you. Maria, do we have another item?
We had talked a little bit about the bus tour. I don't know if we want to continue that conversation.
Yeah, let's do that next time, but let's put that in our system to think about. Um, Is there any points you want to leave us with to chew on?
For the bus tour
Yes.
specifically?
Mhm.
No, I think we had just mainly discussed the possibility of changing the date completely. I think that was the main point we brought forward.
Yeah, it was quite unique this year with youth not in attendance. So let's think about that and then we'll bring it at a further meeting. We've got some time on that one, but if the youth can help us out on that one too, that'd be really great. All right, I think.
I did
oh,
want to
yeah,
ask one question.
Yep,
Usually it's in the September meeting that I present you guys with the recruitment timeline, but I thought I would just bring it today for you guys
perfect.
to look it over. And then I did bring the annual report. I can go through that in detail at a future meeting, but give it to you guys today to look through.
That'd be great. All right, perfect. Thank you for that. I see that we have now exhausted the agenda. The time is 6:24, and being that we have no other items, the meeting has been adjourned.